Fresh as snow, Irma and Justin McIntyre, after 50 years of marriage, found themselves falling into a daily routine. Every morning at 6:00 am, Irma would get up and go into the kitchen to prepare breakfast for Justin while he shaved and showered. They would sit together at 6:30 am to eat a meal that usually consisted of boiled eggs, toast, and a bowl of oatmeal. Following breakfast, Justin would retrieve the newspaper from the mailbox, sit in the den by the fireplace, and read the paper until 8:00 am. Irma would clean up the breakfast dishes, then go make the bed and tidy up the bedrooms and bathroom before bathing. Usually, by 10:00 am, Justin was ready for a nap and Irma would fill in the time by gossiping on the phone with her friends from the bridge club. It was becoming a marriage of convenience more than a marriage of love and unpredictability, as it was when they first met. Irma had convinced Justin that they should move to Florida after he retired. That was 5 years earlier. It seemed like a great idea to Justin in the beginning, however, as time began to pass, he started to miss his friends back in Canada. They did not have any family left. The one child that they had was tragically killed in a car accident years before they had moved away. Irma, on the other hand, adapted to her new surroundings easily and made new friends very quickly. As Justin laid in bed, he started thinking back to the early years of their marriage when they could not keep their hands off one another. They would travel the world in search of adventure, taking in the beauty of nature and the amazing architecture of Europe. They never grew tired of each other's company. He began to wonder where it all started going downhill. They rarely talked to one another anymore, let alone touched each other. They even started sleeping in separate bedrooms. Irma said it was because of his snoring, but he felt there was more to it. At 70 years of age, Justin knew that he did not have the stamina that he once had. Perhaps, he thought, Irma was growing bored of him. He could not blame her though, he was growing bored himself. Just after lunch, Justin received a phone call from a friend he had made at the local barbershop. Louis Davidson was a former Navy man that served in several naval conflicts during his career. He invited Justin out to go fishing on his boat. Justin happily accepted and made his way to the marina. At slip number 30, Louis stood upon the deck of a 92-foot Sea-Force X fishing boat. "Permission to come aboard, Captain?" Justin shouted up to his friend. "Permission granted. Come aboard, sailor." Louis fired up the diesel engine and untied the spring line from the dock cleat before backing out of the slip. The sound of the engine reminded Justin of his younger days when he drove a tractor-trailer for a living. They slowly made their way out into the open waters and Louis pushed ahead on the throttle. The engine came to life and thrust the boat forward. The spray from the seawater felt refreshing on Justin's face, though the rough water further into the ocean was almost more than Justin's stomach could handle. He hung his head over the side and saw 2 dolphins swimming alongside them. Suddenly, his nausea began to disappear, and he began to enjoy himself more. They traveled about 30 minutes from shore until no sign of land or other boats could be seen. Louis dropped the anchor and prepared the fishing lines. Each was equipped with a Shimano Tiagras reel and 130-pound monofilament fishing line. Louis helped Justin strap into his harness, then he cast the line out into the water before placing the rod's handle into the holder. "My friend," Louis began saying, "you are in for a treat. This is my favorite fishing spot. I guarantee a hit within 5 minutes." No sooner did he finish talking when Justin's fishing rod began to bob up and down. Something was nibbling at the bait. Justin went to grab for the rod, but Louis told him to be patient. Louis carefully removed the rod from the holder, let out some slack on the line, then handed it to Justin. "Okay, Justin, when I tell you to, I want you to give the rod a quick yank back over your shoulder. Ready, now." Justin whipped the rod back over his right shoulder, barely missing the head of his friend. The fish was hooked and was trying to make a run for it. Justin nearly dropped the rod from the strength of the fish. Louis quickly grabbed onto the rod and placed it back into the holder. They let out some slack on the line and let the fish run before locking it back up again. The back-and-forth fight for supremacy between man and fish kept up for nearly 30 minutes until the fish finally stopped struggling. With the help of Louis, Justin reeled in the monster.
AppleHound Farms. It was a busy day at the Fox Studios, and yet the employees looked forward to it. The interviewers, cameramen, technicians, all were in anticipation of the interview of the owners of AppleHound Farm products, most popular in Northern America. Their ciders, pie, juices, jams sold in millions. There was just something about their product as opposed to the others. The interview was scheduled to go live in an hour and the founders, Arden Wilson, Mabel Wilson, reported to the office. They were elegant siblings in their middle age, humble and amiable. They had brought bouquets and apple goodies for the working staff. They greeted everyone and acquainted themselves with the interview area and the owner of Fox Studios. They seated themselves for the interview as their interviewer signaled 30 seconds till show time. 30, 29, 28, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's episode of Tycoon Talk. Autumn is here apart from the vibrant leaves, pumpkin spice. Halloween, another unconventional thing that comes to our mind, is apple picking. It is an absolute favorite activity for people of all ages. For people residing in Toronto, other areas in close proximity, AppleHound Farms is an absolute favorite. Today we have the enigmatic sibling duo with us. Welcome to the show. How are you both feeling today? Thank you very much for the incredibly warm welcome. We're doing good. How about you? Arden answered, likewise. How is the apple picking going on in your farm? It's a busy season, so we're doing our best to accommodate as many people as we can. The prices are reasonable, the harvest is bountiful, it's a pet-friendly farm and there's a place to have fun activities with your friends and family, replied Mabel. Wonderful. What more to expect from a top-selling farm? You said your space is pet-friendly. Does that explain why the logo of your farm is a Dalmatian dog with apples instead of spots? Well, that's only a part of it. The logo has another symbolism. I'm not sure if you want to know. Arden was uncertain and cast a glance to his sister, as if seeking her approval. Mabel assured him it will be okay. The interviewer said, we would absolutely want to know that. This show is dedicated entirely for AppleHound. Please go ahead. It was the year 1985. Mabel started. The crash of Air India 182 had stunned people across North America. It was hijacked and bombed mid-air near the West Coast, killing everyone on board. It was first of cold-blooded terrorism. But it was a life-changer for Mabel and Arden. They were only 12 and 17 respectively, when they lost their parents in the crash. Their parents were en route Bombay from Toronto to discuss a business deal. The family's close friend, Denise Stephen Williams, the owner of Big Apple Farms, had agreed to watch their children for them. The Wilson family were also regular visitors during autumn, so the children were well acquainted with them. They had just dropped Papa and Mama Wilson at the airport and had reached the farm when they received the tragic news. Since then, Denise and Stephen cared for the children like their own. The couple sent them to the best of schools, helped them with homework. They took them to sport matches and dance practices. On weekends, they went for short picnics. Autumn was their absolute favorite. It was not only the time they were the busiest on the farm and earned their living, but also they got an opportunity to meet people from all walks of life that came to pick apples. Their farm was the only one near Toronto that had all kinds of apples, from Ida Red to Macintosh, Golden Delicious to Royal Gala, Spartan to Cortland, all sold by the pound of $15 per 20 pounds. Visitors also had an option to pre-order already picked apples for a price of $35. It is here where Arden and Mabel came handy. They loved this activity and did it often in leisure too. They fondly remembered how their parents would watch them apple pick in the past. On one such day, Mabel saw an old man walking with a Dalmatian dog outside their farm. Mabel assumed he happened to be a part of one family that came apple picking and ignored. However, after 3 days, when Mabel was doing yard work, she saw the man and the dog again. She was now certain he lived near to their farm, but wondered why he never visited the farm. She assumed it was not his cup of tea and let the thought pass. It was nearly a week later that Mabel saw him again. This time she was running errands with Arden. They were taking the sack of leaves to the compost. Brother, have you seen that gentleman before? Oh yes, Mabel. He seems to live close by. He takes his dog for walks twice a day, morning evening. Why do you ask? Why doesn't he come visit us or say hello? Denise Stephen are so renowned in the village. I think we should invite him or give him some apples or its products. Let's first talk to him before giving him anything, as the